Welcome to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Barbie. I am the founder, president, and CEO of GRCAM, the Grassroots Community Activist Movement. On this platform, we discuss authentic urban news across the diaspora and what's happening on the African continent. If you're joining us for the first time, please hit that like button, share, and subscribe to my YouTube page. We encourage our listeners worldwide to engage with us by leaving a public comment about the topic in the comment section below the audio podcast. Help make our audio podcast and our video podcast go viral by sharing my YouTube page with all of your friends on social media sites that you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Disclaimer: this content is for educational and informational purposes only. It is based on publicly available reports and verified media sources. We fully comply with YouTube's community guidelines. We do not promote violence, hate, or misinformation in any form. This podcast is available in two forms, audio and also as a written text, in order for us to reach our audience. Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast is our Black media component. I would like to encourage my listeners to subscribe to my Medium transcript where you can follow along during this presentation. I provide my Medium transcript in the comment section below this audio podcast. Attention, Black artists, African artists who are authors, comedians, poets, musicians, or entrepreneurs. I share my platform with those of you who are on my social media pages or in my social groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. Make arrangements with me to come on this platform so that way you can promote your books, your business, your music, your jokes. And if you have a small ministry, then you're more than welcome to come on here and share a 30-minute sermon with my listeners from the global community. After the show, I offer an incentive to my guest speakers by teaching them how to create their own podcast, YouTube channel, and get it monetized, as well as assist them with creating a free Wix website for their online business or online ministry. On this platform, we keep you informed and empowered from whenever you are either from the diaspora or in Africa. Don't just watch our videos. Join GRCAM now, ladies and gentlemen. I want to do more than just news and social commentary, but at this point, this is where I'm at. Why? Because unfortunately, my book is not selling, nor am I selling any items from my virtual store. And that's just real talk. I created this platform in order to broadcast my vision and plan across the United States of America to recruit brave and smart, like-minded Black Americans beyond Chicago who identify as DAS-FM, which stands for Descendants of American Slaves/Freedmen. I also want to recruit brave and smart, like-minded African immigrants within the United States from 10 African nations. They are as follows: South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Angola, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. I'm encouraging you all to please purchase my revised book, quote, The Solution for Black America, Reclaiming, Rebuilding, Restoring the Urban Ghettos in America, 2nd edition. It is available on Amazon in two forms, as an ebook for $9.99 or as a softcover book for $15 plus shipping and handling. I provide my Amazon author page in the comment section below this audio podcast. If you agree with my vision and plan to help improve Black America, you will automatically become a GERCAM member. I'm also reaching out to the global African family. I'm asking you to please help me get my revised book on that bestsellers list so that way I can be in a better position financially to hire Black people, African people, and others. I want my advisory board or resource team to have an associate's degree or above. I want Black attorneys, African attorneys, investors, Black entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and philanthropists. Once we get our film project fully funded and made and the proceeds from the film starts pouring in, then I will be in a better position financially to purchase property in Chicago, Illinois, buy office equipment, and hire qualified Black middle-class professionals and qualified African immigrants. Global African family, again, if you're serious about me bringing my Black Christian business to the continent, then please put me on blast. Share my information and leave a public comment about the topic. Bottom line, it doesn't matter how bad I want to get my Christian business up and running in Chicago. Without financial support from the Black grassroots and the global African family, then I am unable to do my God-given job, which is to build the best Black business within the United States of America, and that is the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. I'm going to do that for credibility before I cut and run to Africa. Because when I come to Africa, I don't want to come empty-handed. I want to come to bring economic tangibles in the form of job creation for GERCAM members and their families. So I'm calling upon Black content creators and African content creators who have a large following. Please allow me to come on your platform so I can speak to your audience about my revised book and my film project. After all, my Christian business is for Black millennials and Generation Z. This is not my burden alone. This is a shared burden. GERCAM members will be on the front lines, and we're the ones that's going to take the lead to clean up the low income Black community, if given a chance. I don't want the brand and the vision to die in America. I am pushing this vision to the Black world. This is my contribution to Africa's rising. I'm looking for like-minded Black Americans and like-minded African immigrants in America to join our film project team. I'm looking for legitimate Black filmmakers, African filmmakers, directors, producers, actors, stage managers, professional fundraisers, technical directors, and marketers who can come to Chicago to shoot the film once we raise the capital. If you are serious about doing business with me, then please make yourself known to me. Don't wait until I am dead. Work with me while I'm alive. Although we don't have a physical building at this time, we are using this technology to broadcast what we're trying to do in Black Chicago and beyond. On this platform, we're genuine, sincere, transparent, and authentic. My online events will help expand your network, enhance your profile visibility, and make more meaningful connection with the global community. This year, we are determined to get this film project fully funded and made so that way we can get our story on the big screen in order to reach the Black world and let them know who we are and what we're trying to do for Black Americans who identify as FM, Descendants of American Slaves/Freedmen. Title of this presentation: The UN Vote Exposes Western Nations' Hypocrisy. The United Nations had just taken a historic vote, and the result has exposed a global divide that Africa should not ignore. In this episode of Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast, we break down the UN General Assembly resolution recognizing the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. 123 countries voted in favor, but the real story is not just who voted, but who refused. The question is, why did the United States, Israel, and Argentina voted against it? Why did the entire Western Bloc choose to abstain from the vote? And what does this voting pattern reveals about global power, historical accountability, and Africa's rising? We touch on the contradictions of reparations, the comparisons with Holocaust compensation, and the uncomfortable truth about modern resources extraction deals happening across the African continent as we speak. From Ghana's diplomatic leadership to ongoing Western mineral strategies in Africa. This is a story about the past, the present, and the future of Africa's sovereignty. This is not just about history, it is about who stands with Africa when it matters. The global conversation around reparation is heating up, and Ghana has taken the lead in calling for justice for the transatlantic slave trade. But not now, a growing number of voices within the FBA, Foundational Black American Community, are pushing back, raising serious questions about who reparations are really for and who can be a representative. In this episode, we break down the controversy surrounding Ghana's reputation push, the concerns coming from the FBA perspective, and the deeper issues around identity, history, and accountability between Africa and the diaspora. The Ghanaian president visited the United Nations last Thursday, March 26, 2026. He put forth a resolution declaring that the transatlantic slave trade was the gravest crime against humanity in history. Only 3 nations voted against it: the United States, Israel, and Argentina. All of them built their wealth off of the slave trade. They did not have the decency and the morality to declare slavery was dead wrong, and they should have made a public apology for participating in it. But that's a way for them to avoid paying reparations because they still benefit from it and continue to steal natural resources from Africa today. The United Nations General Assembly just adopted a historic resolution recognizing the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. The resolution was proposed by Ghana on behalf of the entire African continent and people of African descent, and it passed. 123 countries voted in favor. Only the 3 countries in the entire world voted against it: the United States, Israel, and Argentina. Every European Union member state, all 27 of them, abstained from voting. The United Nations abstained. Canada abstained. Australia abstained. Japan abstained. China voted yes. Russia voted yes. Iran voted yes. India voted yes. Brazil voted yes. North Korea voted yes. The entire global South voted yes. Western nations voted no, or refusal to take a position. Now, I need for you to think about this for a moment, because the voting pattern on this resolution is not just a number, It shows you exactly who stands with Africa when it matters and when it does not. It confirms what we have been saying on this channel for a long time, that the so-called partners, the mutual beneficial deals and defense cooperation agreements, the investment package that Western nations present to Africa, all of it is nothing but symbolism, ladies and gentlemen. But because when the time comes to simply acknowledge, not even talk about the money, just to acknowledge that the enslavement of 12 million Africans was the gravest crime against humanity, the entire Western nations either said no or looked the other way. On this platform, we discuss African issues, Black issues, and try to recruit our listeners to participate in our live interactive virtual conferences or our live interactive conversations in real time. Let me give you the full picture, because this resolution did not come out of nowhere, and the contradictions surrounding it are more revealing than the vote itself. Ghanaian President John Mahama, excuse me if I'm pronouncing the last name wrong, so forgive me for that, chopping it up, stood before the General Assembly and spoke on behalf of the 54 member African group, the largest regional bloc at the United Nations. Ghana's foreign minister told the BBC that Africa is not asking for handouts, it is demanding accountability. He said history does not vanish when it is overlooked. Truth does not diminish when it is postponed. Crime does not delay, and justice does not fade with time. The resolution formally recognized the brutality, scale, duration, and systematic nature of the transatlantic slave trade. It calls for discussion around reparations, including former apologies, compensation, systematic reforms, and the return of looted cultural artifacts in European museums. It does not set a specific financial figure. It does not impose binding obligation. It is a general assembly, which means it carries political weight but not legal action. And yet, three countries still could not bring themselves to vote yes, and 52 countries could not even raise their voice. The American deputy ambassador told reporters that the United States does not recognize illegal rights to reparations for historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time they occurred. Let that sink in for a minute. The official position of the United States of America is that because slavery was legal when it was happening, nobody owes anything for it today. And again, that's coming from the a colonized mindset. You know what I'm saying? These white supremacist financial elites. Ladies and gentlemen, they are the enemies of Black people. But you all, like I say, I'm just doing the best that I can to connect with other like-minded Black Americans so I can get this business up and running in America again for credibility. That's all. Black Americans want to stay here and be treated as fourth and fifth class citizens. Hey, that's on them. As for me and my house, I want to reclaim my ancestral homeland, Africa. But before I cut and run, because it was my ancestors that helped build this, country under the whip and the gun, force, labor, you know what I'm saying? So I just want to make sure I just get this Christian business up and running like my creator placed in my heart and mind. That's my assignment. It's a shame that it has to take 34 years still on first base. Don't like that. But hey, just doing the best that I can. get this thing to move forward and connect with other like-minded Black Americans and like-minded African immigrants in America. Let me continue. By that logic, the Holocaust was legal under the laws of the government that carried it out. Does that mean nobody should have paid for it? And that brings us to the most important comparisons in this entire story, because the West has already shown us that they can pay reparations if they wanted to. The United States of America paid reparations to former slave owners just like they did in the UK. They also paid reparations to American Indians based on the wrongs of the Trail of Tears. That happened a long time ago, and none of those persons were alive. But yet they still got reparations, and they're still getting that to this day. Every year. They paid reparations to Japanese Americans after World War II. They created the Marshall Plan to help rebuild Tokyo. Germany signed the, gotta bear with me, I'm gonna have to spell out this name because I don't know how to really pronounce it. So Loenborg agreement in 1952 with the state of Israel. And under that agreement, West Germany committed to paying $3 billion. That's equivalent to roughly $7 billion in today's market. At the time, directly to Israel, plus an additional $450 million to Jewish organizations around the world. Those payments were delivered to over 14 years, primarily in the forms of goods, equipment, and industrial material that helped Israel build its economy from the ground up. But it did not stop there. Germany continued paying. Decades after decades, new categories of survivors were added, new compensation programs were negotiated, new forms were established, and by the 70th anniversary of the Loeberg Agreement in 2022, Germany had paid the equivalent of more than $89 billion in total compensation for the crimes of the Holocaust. That include direct payments to survivors, pensions, home care funding, and Holocaust education programs that Germany funds to this day. There was never a United Nations resolution that mandated Germany to pay those reparations. Germany paid because there was political will. Keep that in mind, that political will. The Western nations decided that the crime committed against Jewish people was so grave that it required economic tangibles, not just words, not just apologies, not just symbolics, but real cash paid constantly for over 70 years. The West had enforced reparation when it concerns their allies, but when Africa, the continent that lost over 12 million people to a system of forced labor, torture, and dehumanization that lasts 4 centuries, asked for acknowledgement of the wrongs done by our people. The United States says the crime was not illegal at the time. Well, like I say, it's just all I can just ridiculous. That's all I can say. When Africa asked for accountability of these white supremacist financial elites, all of a sudden Europe abstained from saying a word. When Africa asked for justice, Western nations remained silent on the issue. This is the double standard global African family. And the voting pattern on this resolution has made it impossible to deny. It has come to our attention that a significant number of our listeners have not subscribed to the channel. So please, I encourage all of you to take a moment to subscribe and tap that notification bell so that you can be notified every time we upload a new content. This is one way you can support our growth and encourage us to keep going. Because, like I say, this is the best that I can do since, my book is not selling. Because I don't sell dope. I'm not a dope man. I sell ideas. Unfortunately, the dope man has more support from the Black community than me. And his drugs is the one that's destroying Black families and that's killing our youth. Ladies and gentlemen, let me continue. If Western nations paid over $89 billion in reparations for Holocaust survivors, but cannot even vote yes on a non-binding resolution about slavery, what does that tell you about who the West considers fully human? Big ups to Ghana for pushing this resolution through. Ghana led the charge. Ghana president stood at the podium and called for reparative justice, and this is commendable. Shout out to Ghana for getting this done. However, the same Ghana that is demanding accountability for the crimes of centuries past, what is Ghana doing about the crimes that are happening now? Because 2 weeks ago, hey, I do my research, you know what I'm saying? 2 weeks ago, Ghana signed the first formal defense partnership between the European Union and Africa. Ghana has over 90 active exploration projects targeting gold, lithium, and magnesium with Western mining companies. Ghana is also weighing whether to greenlight one of West Africa's first lithium mines with the same European Union that abstained on this slavery resolution. Ghana is telling the world, you owe us for what your people have done centuries ago, yet continue to do business with the same former colonizers. So that's what, hey, I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? Don't do business with them people then. All right, fine. You don't want to pay reparation? No problem. We just won't do business with your behind. It's just like that. That's what I would do. But, Black Americans don't want to listen to me because they don't want no solution. The sad thing is that Ghana and other African nations continue doing, business behind closed doors with the former colonizers who keep coming back to extract mineral wealth from the continent. That's shameful, African people. On one hand, Ghana pushed through a historic resolution, and at the other, Ghana is still discussing business relationship with our oppressors. We're talking about the crimes they committed in the past while helping them commit new ones in the present. Ghana is not alone in this contradiction. Every African leader voted yes on this resolution, and then when they go back home to sign a lopsided mineral deal with Western corporations. These African leaders are all guilty of the same thing, selling out our African youth to the highest bidder. This resolution landed in the same week and the same month that the new scramble for Africa resources went from being a theory to being an open, declare Western strategy. For example, in February, the American Secretary of State stood before leaders of the Western world and laid out a vision for what he called a new Western century. He spoke about Western civilization with pride. He described the loss of Western industry capacity as a conscious political failure. And he said something that every African needs to hear. He called for creating a Western supply chain of critical minerals and a unified effort to compete for market share in the economies of the global South. About 70% of the world's reserves of critical minerals, which are cobalt, cobalt, lithium, rare earth, and minerals that powers electric vehicles, energy grids, and military systems sit beneath the soil of Sahara Africa. The Democratic Republic of Congo alone supplies roughly 80% of the world's cobalt. So when the American Secretary of State says we need a Western supply chain of critical material, minerals, in layman terms, he is saying we need all of Africa's resources on our terms. He's not hiding it. He said it on camera in front of 40 heads of states, but he went further. He spoke about the decline of the Western empires after 1945. He described anti colonial uprisings, the very movement that freed Africa from European dominations, as a force which had weakened the West. He framed the liberation of colonized peoples as a blow to Western civilization. And then he called on Europe to stop feeling guilty and shame over its colonial past. He told them, quote, we do not want allies to atone for the purpose sins of past generations. We want allies who are proud of their heritage and willing to defend it, unquote. So let me make this conversation personal. The United Nations General Assembly has voted on whether to acknowledge that the slave trade was the gravest crime against humanity. But behind closed doors, the American Secretary of State is telling Europe to stop apologizing for colonialism and focus on taking back Africa's natural resources in the name of white supremacy. Ladies and gentlemen, these two events happen in the same month, and if you cannot see the connections, you're not paying attention, and the action on the ground matches the rhetoric. For example, in December 2025, the United States signed a strategic partnership agreement with the DRC that granted American companies a right of first offer on the country's critical mineral assets. The deal creates a joint screening committee, five American representatives from the Trump administration, and five Congolese that oversees a reserve of mining sites marked for U.S. companies. American investors get preferential access ahead of even Congolese investors. 10-year tax guarantees, mining laws rewritten, potentially the Constitution itself amended within 12 months, does not serve the Congolese people, but rather to accommodate American mega corporations. Congolese lawyers challenged the idea in court. The Archbishop of one of the country's largest cities compared it to selling off the minerals of an entire nation to preserve a political regime. Civil society groups called it a surrender of sovereignty. The agreement was never presented to the Congolese parliament. No debates, no votes, no consent. And in February, the American Secretary of State speech laid out his vision. In the same month, the EU announced up to $3 billion for mineral extractions across the continent under its Critical Raw Material Act. On March 21st, the president of Nigeria returned from a state visit to London. A phone call between the French president and the Nigerian president produced a military cooperation agreement at a private political gathering with no parliamentary consultation. On March 24th, the EU foreign policy chief was in Abuja signing a 290 million euro investment package with Nigeria. On March 25th, the Arabs signed the first formal defense partnership between the European Union and African nations. The EU voted on this resolution 4 days before deals. Two African countries, three Western powers. France rebuilding military influence across Anglophone Africa after being expelled from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. In 3 years, the United Kingdom deepening security cooperation with Nigeria while signing deportation agreements and port deals financed through British lending institutions, all conversion on the continent at the same time. All of it is happening in the open. It is happening in broad daylight, and here is a part that should keep every African leader awake at night. On March 21st, just days before the UN votes, the president of Brazil stood before head of states, bringing together the Caribbean, Africa, and leaders in Latin America. He said they wanted to recolonize us again. He said the countries represented at the summit share a history of being plundered for gold, silver, diamond, and minerals. He said, quote, after extracting everything from us, they are now wishing to claim ownership of our critical minerals and rare earths. Their aim to colonize us again, unquote. The U.S. Secretary General warned at the African Union Summit no more exploitation, no more plundering. Everyone in the world can see what is happening. The white supremacist financial elites come to Africa with a deal. They call it a partnership. They call it mutual beneficial defense, trade, minerals. And African leaders just jump on it, not because it serves their people, but because it serves their political interests. They use it to stay in power. The mutual benefit is not between Africa and the West. It is between African leaders and Western interests. The people of Africa are not at the table. They never were. At the same time, it's a pattern that has existed for centuries. When Europe come to the the coast of West Africa to take my ancestors, they did not do it alone. There were local collaborators, race traders, power brokers, and they who enabled the system because they benefited from it. Today, the collaborators wear suits, they hold election, they attend summits, they sign agreements in luxury hotels, different costumes, different functions, being in the pockets of the white supremacist financial elites. They're handing over Africa's wealth to foreign powers in exchange for political survival, while millions of ordinary Black Native Africans live with the consequences, are left with nothing. The resolutions that was just adopted at the UN is supposed to address the injustice of the past. But what about the injustice of the present? What good is a resolution about slavery if the same dynamic of extractions and exploitation continues under a different name. What good is it to call for reparations if the same leaders demanding justice for the past are facilitating theft today? I am not dismissing this resolution. It matters. It is historic. The fact that 123 countries voted to recognize what was done to Africa and my ancestors as the gravest crime against humanity, that matters. The fact that China, Russia, Iran, India, Brazil, and the entire global south stood with Africa, that matters. But the fact that the United States, Israel, and Argentina were the only three countries in the world that could not bring themselves to say yes, that matters most of all because it tells you who your real friends are, not the ones who come with investment packages and defense packs, the ones who stood with you when it counts the most. The resolution alone is not enough. Resolutions do not build economies. Resolutions do not stop with um, mineral thefts. Resolutions do not feed families. What Africa needs is not just acknowledgement of its leaders who will protect its resources the way the West protects its interests. Africa needs leaders who will say, you cannot extract our natural resources, ship them to their factories, build up their economies, and then tell us that slavery was legal at that time. It, so we owe you nothing. I am proud of the Sahara states because they understood this. They expelled foreign occupiers. They revoked colonial era mining agreements. They took control of their natural resources. They formed a mutual defense confederation. And when the European Parliament demanded the return of their puppet leader, they rejected it collectively, publicly, without hesitation. They decided that if they cannot defend themselves, they are not truly independent. And the results are showing. The rest of Africa is being offered deals, but deals comes with conditions and consequences. Africa needs to hold your leaders accountable because if we lose Africa, we lose everything. If we have to learn about our history dealing with these people who come to our continent and strip our resources and ship my ancestors across the ocean to build up their economy, while a majority of our people remain in poverty. The next time you encounter a white man from Europe or America with a smile and a $1 million contract, remember those votes. Remember when Africa asked the world to simply acknowledge what was done to our people. The entire Western world neither said no or said nothing. They did not acknowledge the crime of the past. So why would you? Um, so why? So yes. So they're not admitting the crime of the past. So why would they stop committing it in the present? The vote is on record. The question now is what Africa is going to do, because either this becomes the beginning of a real conversation about reparations for colonization and a reparative framework with demands, timelines, and consequences, or it becomes nothing more than symbolic victory that doesn't change nothing. I'm going to be watching this closely, and I will bring you every development as it unfolds. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below this audio podcast. Do you believe the resolution will lead to real reparations for colonization for continental Africans, reparations for Afro Caribbeans, reparations for Afro Brazilians, and lineage based cash payment reparations for Dash FM descendants of American slaves / freemen from the United States American government? I encourage the global African family to help me get my revised book on that bestsellers list. So that way I can be in a better position financially to hire Black people, African people, and others. Once we get Gurkai of Chicago up and running in America, then we can expand it to the continent. Gurkai of Africa will help raise awareness with the African community about protecting our continent's resources. Let us have a serious conversation, not from the emotional point of view, but from a legal standpoint. Please help make this video um, or make this audio go viral by sharing the link with your Facebook friends and any other social media site that you're on. This um, also include in group chats and invite them to join us here as we break down the issues in layman terms. In contrast, FBA claims Ghana is trying to hijack reparations. The African Union and Caribbean nations are backing the president of Ghana to lead the charge to put reparation front and center of discussion to world leaders at the UN. I have a video clip from the Washington Examiner entitled, quote, San Francisco NAACP slams 5 million per person reparations plan, unquote. To watch the video clip, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. According to the video, it was the Black Caucus who blocked reparations. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Like I told you, a lot of these Black politicians, they're in the pockets of the white supremacist financial elites. They Democrat first. They don't care about selling us out. This is how the reason why Black Americans are still stuck or stagnant. But hey, you don't want to embrace my vision and plan, so hey, that's on you. God give us free will. The eight European nations which owe Africa, the Caribbeans, and Brazil for enslavement and colonization are Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and the United Kingdom. So I don't know all of the Caribbean nations that was I would say that was enslaved, but I do know for without a shadow of a doubt that Haiti was their former colonizer is with France. I know that much. So people y'all have CARICOM, so you gotta talk to them people, and you just when the information age, do the research, find out which European nation that colonized your in terms of on the continent, find out who colonized you, which European country, and then that's where you will file a reparation claim for colonization. Those that was enslaved, I would say in the Caribbean, you have to find out which European nation enslaved you, and you're going to have to get compensation from them for reparation from them. And I know with Brazil, they were colonized by Portugal. So, y'all just going to have to, organize and try to get reparations from them, demand it. And like I say, if they don't, we can't make them give it to us. They have it. But my thing is, doggone it, just don't do business with them point blank. And you got to be on code. Everybody have to stand on that. But like I say, there's so many sellouts among our racial group. That's why over here I'm about separating ourselves from these off-code Negroes that's, on that plantation trip. They don't want us to be free. They don't mind, being comfortable, being, treated as fourth and fifth class citizens. That's on them. It's big turn off for me. The so-called founding fathers owe reparations to Das FM, descendants of American slaves / freedmen, because they all owned slaves, which put the U.S. government on the hook. That's bottom line. talking about, well, it was legal at the time. Yeah, well, you can. Nobody didn't ask you to bring your behind over to the African continent. Nobody involved, especially my ancestor, they didn't volunteer to be no slaves. So yeah, it was legal to you because you created these laws. All we're saying is, hey, you're gonna have to pay up. Bottom line. Don't care if you do whitewash these history books. It's already, we're in the information age and we standing on business. No, we can't make you pay. That's true. But if you want to do business with us, you're gonna have to pay. Bottom line. But at this point in time, Black Americans is not in a position to fight against white supremacy because we're too damaged. We have to heal. And this goes, even in with my family. I mean, that's what my film is about. And I'm just grateful that at least I'm trying to do something. Man, I want to do more than just run off at the mouth and stuff. And that's how come I try to find, different topics like this. This is on point again about what I stand for and, about how we can move as a unit. But however, we cannot build, especially under CACAM, we cannot build with off-code Negroes, con artists, pedophiles, degenerates, urban terrorists. Can't deal with those. Those people are bringing our racial group down. And they run in our families. That's the sad part about all this. But nevertheless, let me finish up this presentation. Our leadership is compromised. Many of our Black leaders, just like African leaders, are in the pockets of the white supremacist financial elites. This is why things don't get done at the community level. I believe the best form of reparation for Black Americans and even African people is for us to start doing business among ourselves. That's what I'm trying to build. 34 years I've been reaching out to Black Chicagoans and Black Americans online and in real life. Majority of them tell me they're not interested. It is what it is. God give us free will. But that's how come I'm beating that drum loud and clear, and that's how come I created this platform. I'm here to recruit brave and smart people. That's why I wrote that book. I'm not interested in writing more books. The first book is barely selling. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm trying to do a film, letting the whole Black world know my story. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get this thing to move to the next level, not for me, but for our future children. Good Lord, Black Americans, come out of this slave mentality, man. Woman. We can't make these white supremacist financial elites give us reparation, but what we can do is stop doing business with them. And eventually, those of us who can need to apply for dual citizenship, either in an African nation or in a Caribbean nation. That's a start to breaking away from their control of us. As long as we continue to be divided, then we lose sight of the people that have gotten us in these conditions globally. Now is the time for Black people and African people who share the same vision to unite and join CACAM for our collective survival in America and throughout the diaspora. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Thank you all for listening to our audio podcast and for joining us on the stream. We greatly appreciate it. Help support our film project so that way we can move CACAM to the next level, and that is to the big screen, to let the Black world know who we are and what we're trying to do for my people that are who are Black Americans who identify as Das FM, descendants of American slaves slash freedmen. Quote, Hood Liberator made in Chicago, the war against Willie Lynch begins. You can be a part of this historic docudrama by contributing to our crowdfunding pages, which are on our GoFundMe page, our Buy Me a Coffee page, or our PayPal Giving Fund page, which will help fund marketing, promotion, clearance, legal, and general expenses. If you are a U.S. citizen, then I recommend that you donate to our PayPal Giving Fund page because you can use it as a tax write-off because this is a legitimate 501c3 nonprofit, faith-based, and community advocacy organization. You can also purchase items from our virtual store or purchase my revised book. The ebook is $9.99. Softcover book is $15 plus shipping and handling. We appreciate your support. You can find all the links below this audio podcast in the comment section below this audio podcast. Thank you all for listening to our YouTube live or the replay. If you are new to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast, welcome to our safe space where we discuss Black issues and African issues. We do this every week. This will conclude our audio podcast for today. Like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next episode. Peace and blessings. And again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. Again, God give us free will. If it was up to me, this business would have been up and running 34 years ago. But hey, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no shame. I read my speeches. I'm trying to get my message out there loud and clear. That's all. So with that being said, peace and blessings.